Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to go through BMNR, ETH and Bitcoin, and also the S&P 500. So it's going to be very focused on crypto here. And just some final thoughts on the crazy move we had this week. So let's start off with BMNR. So in the past like 3 days, I think 3 trading days, BMNR went up about 27%. Some say it's around 30% if you count. I think some of the aftermarket moves, and we are touching the 200-day MA for BMNR since January of this year. So it has been a long time since we saw bullish momentum on BMNR. If you look at Ethereum as well, we literally broke the 2000 and 2400 sort of resistance and support that I set. But I think it's very possible for Ethereum to break down again in the very short term. I think this run in Ethereum might be a little bit unsustainable. And I think as we see more bullish momentums, or the bullish movements for crypto and BMNR in general, we are gonna see a lot of this, you know, uh, upwards moves, and there's gonna be a lot of peaks and valleys, right? And I'll sort of discuss what I think in the short term. Um, this isn't a very good looking chart, but I think you get sort of the point. There's gonna be peaks and valleys if we have upwards momentum. And I think we're about to see, we already seen a peak. I think we're going to see a valley in the very short term. And I'm talking about like in the next week. Um, so if you look at my portfolio for BMNR, and I'm going to bring up my new application here, by the way. I had to rebuild the entire budget terminal in sort of a React TypeScript format with I do with AI. I don't actually know the code. It's just a better, sort of UI for the thing, but it's not really public yet. And I'm not even sure if I'm gonna make it public anymore, because it seems like nobody really gives a shit, which is fine. I built this thing for myself, okay, and I'm actually pretty proud of what I have here. Um, so if you look at my last video, I had about 1841 shares of BMR, so I sold about 141 shares. Now I did make some trades on Friday. Pretty good trades. I just basically bought up like 69 shares so that I got to the 200, and I sold it at an average of 22.90 for BMNR. And there's a reason why I sold some of my positions, which I'm gonna go through. So, why did I sell some of my positions if I think well, I didn't really think that there was an uptrend. Um, not at like 17 August, right? At the start of the week, I didn't think that there was going to be an uptrend, but after we got like 3 strong days, I think it's safe to say that we had an uptrend, or we are going to have an uptrend rather. Um, but what did I sell? So I look at, if you see what Ben Cohen has said. By the way, Ben Cohen is like Tom Lee's Tom Lee for Ethereum and Bitcoin rather, because I've been looking at this guy and he's been right on everything, on, well, maybe not everything, but most of the more important moves in Bitcoin. And basically what he said was that this might be sort of a false breakout, right? And I hopefully I'll remember to leave a link in the description, so they can watch this video. But um, I think he's trying to point that I don't know what indicator he's using. He's probably using some sort of custom indicator, but you can see whenever it touches this line indicator that he has, that it does tend to like drop a little bit. Um, let's see if there are any other clearer pictures here. Let's see here. I'm not sure. Yeah, so you're gonna have to watch the video And in his next video, like a day after this, he is a little bit, I think, less confident in his prediction. But I think he's I've done this before where I've made a video way too soon and I said I was wrong, but then I started to become correct later. I think this was happening with Bankone. Might not be the best explanation, but basically what he's saying is that there might be a short-term dip here. um and if you look at Michael Nadeau in the this channel called the DeFi Report, which is sort of like a sister channel to Bankless, um he basically says that there's going to be a final risk of capitulation. So the reason why I look at this and I realize that I sort of can sell this rally is because most of the time these two guys are complete opposites of each other, and right now they are sort of seeing the same thing, right? So I treat that as sort of like um a confirmation signal that more than likely they're both going to be right about this. And if you look at the way that Ethereum moved, um now I know this is crypto and not necessarily a stock, but the way that crypto moved 27% might be unsustainable in the short term. So that's why I sold at about I saw BMNR about 22.90, which isn't even the top. If you look at the 24-hour market, it still went up to 23.56, but it's just a very, very small position, and it's just a position that I'm willing to trade, right? If I don't get in, so at what price do I want to get in? Um, just based on this, I think like 21 or 20 would be a very, very good place to get in. I don't even know if I'll get that those prices back again. If I don't, that's fine, because I still have 1,700 shares riding on this bull trend. But if it does get down to like 21 or 20, I think I have another 300 shares in me to buy. So I'll put my position to about 2,000 shares, and I think I'll just like put myself in a coma for another 2 years. I think I'll just go to jail for 2 years. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know. Um, so there you go. I that's what I sort of think of BMNR Ethereum, and I think Bitcoin is basically gonna do the same thing. I don't really look at Bitcoin too much because there are a couple of reasons which I know most of the crypto guys are gonna go after me if I say this publicly, but I just don't like the fact that we are wasting energy mining Bitcoin when Ethereum. Sure, you have that validator node, but it basically consumes like a minuscule amount of energy compared to Bitcoin. I just don't like how Bitcoin is sort of evangelized, and for some reason we are just wasting energy just mining. And I'm not even like a save the earth type of guy. It's just that why even just waste energy? Anyways, um, it's still, I guess you might consider it like a store of value as well. I wouldn't say um that's entirely untrue, but just based off technicals, I think the exact same thing is going to happen to both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and vice versa with BMNR, right? Um, and just to end off this video, I think we can talk about SPY a little bit. So in the last video or the last two videos, I was talking about how Tom Lee said that first off, he had the price target of SPY for 7,800. For this ETF in particular, it would be 780. Um, and then I think like a week later, he moved that to 800, and I think he might have been wrong on that, but I think 780 might be the peak. Now, it's very possible that we might have another pop back up. That's not out of the question. If you look at the 1 day chart, it might still go back up. But my sort of point is that we might very well see a rotation out of AI into crypto. And I know we've been saying this for like 1 year, and I might have been wrong for the last year. But I think I talked about how some of the AI companies are just pulling tricks out of their head, right? Um, and I think maybe Wall Street is starting to question that and wonder if a lot of these companies are spending just way too much money um, on debt and something. AI doesn't necessarily have a real ROI even to this point, by the way. I mean, look at like ChatGPT and Anthropic, their revenues are still struggling at this point, mainly because people just don't want to pay for AI. And the reason that they don't want to pay for AI is because the return on investment is not clear. It's still not clear. Now, I built my app in using AI, but um, the reason I think the return on investment is not clear is because there just isn't any users, right? You look at the internet right now. There's this theory called the dead internet theory, and basically the bots are using the internet more than humans at this point. And what that means is that we have the same amount of users of the internet and more applications being created, right? So all right, let me draw this out. So these are the users. Let me put it in green, right? The amount of users of the internet. Let's say for the past 5 years since the introduction of AI, and let me put like the applications that could have been made, right? I think what's happening right now is that, and this isn't going to be like a clear representation. Now, obviously, um, what's sort of happening here now, there isn't going to be more applications than humans, okay? This is not what this chart is about, but it is I'm trying to show you that more apps are likely being created than humans can physically use. So that's why the return on investment for AI might not be super clear, because I can create like 5,000 apps using Claude and OpenAI. But the problem is that I can't get anyone to use them because nobody is has the time. Um, so yeah, this is actually pretty fun. I should do this more. Um, there you go. All right. So the return on investment is not clear for AI. I think it's very possible that Wall Street might be starting to look at it and question if they should pivot their money out of the market. Now you can pivot it to something like, I don't know, like biotech. Eli Lilly. Oh, that's a wrong ticker. Um, went up. No, it wasn't. No, what was it? mRNA. mRNA went up 100%, right? Maybe that's what they're looking at. Now, mRNA likely also uses AI. Um, you can look at Hyperliquid as well. I didn't know anything about Hyperliquid, but they got mentioned by Trump, and I think some money might be trying to pivot away from AI because I talk about risk, and the amount of money that's been made in AI. I just don't think that it's a smart idea to, let's say you make like 500% on Nvidia and then you continue to stay invested. I don't think that's not really the move that um a lot of institutional investors make. There has to be like a limit at some point, where they say that it's enough, right? And then where are they going to move that money into? I think crypto might very well be a play here. If you look at Ben Cohen's video, by the way, I think you should really, you if you're interested in BMNR Ethereum, you should look at Ben Cohen. Now he talks about Bitcoin a lot, but you know at this point, Bitcoin still trades together with Ethereum. In fact, I think Ethereum might very well um do even better in terms of percentage growth than Bitcoin, but we'll see. Um, Basically, what he says is that okay, I lost my train of thought. But basically, what he says is that the second half of the midterm year is typically bullish for Bitcoin, and that's why I think there might be some rotation about to happen with AI into crypto. So I've been wrong for the last year. It didn't feel very good. Um, I'm typically, before BMNR, I just never really wanted to invest in crypto, and for good reason, because I never really understood it. Um, but yeah, I've learned a lot for about crypto since I started to invest in it. And I'm not saying that I will hold BMNR for the next like 5 years. I think if BMNR reaches like 60, which is where I bought most of my positions, I might very well start to trim heavily. And we'll see how many shares I keep. I'm guessing I'll only keep about 1,000 or 500 shares of BMNR once it hits 60. And I don't know if maybe it'll hit 200 in the next 2 years. Um, but I think I've put way too much risk into BMNR, so that's why I'm trying to get out here. But that's what I think about Ethereum and BMNR. I think that went on a little bit too long. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and see you next one.